Hey time travelers, Rob here again at the Ministry of Temporal Mechanics. I'm afraid this episode may not be suitable for squeamish bibliophiles, as I'm going to be cutting up some books. The books have been chosen for their decorative covers and their size. I acquire most of them at old bookshops or garage sales. I use an alpha blade and I carefully remove the pages of the book, trying not to damage the cover. This will be a nice detail to use later on. I found this interesting. This was printed on the inside of the spine of this book. Definitely some recycling going on here. The two books will be attached to each other, so the next step is to arrange them in a way they will appear in the final project. Then using some tape, I marked the position of the book. Using the tape as a guide, I cut out a section of the front cover. Then I cut out a large section of the back cover. I used the opening I created on the cover of the first book as a guide to create an opening on the back cover of the book that will be on top. Next, I'll be working with a sheet of white acrylic, 1/8 inch thick. The one I'm using has 31% light transmission. It's a white translucent acrylic that's often used for light tables. Here I'm measuring where the width of the pages used to be in the book. That will be the width I'll be cutting the acrylic. I'm using a grinder to round off the edge of the acrylic I just cut so it fits where the spine of the book used to be. The acrylic will be taking over the space on the book where the pages used to be, so we want them to look as though they are the pages. This takes a lot of time, patience, a straight edge, and a good blade. I'm scoring lines in the acrylic very close to each other. I'm using a metal ruler to remove any bits of acrylic that may have remained after scoring, and here's the result. Cutting acrylic should be done slowly to avoid any shattering. I'm using a clear contact type of adhesive to adhere that piece of fabric from the spine. I'm going to be using hot glue on the acrylic, so I'm doing some sanding to give it a surface that the hot glue will stick to well. A flat surface will ensure that the acrylic corner is nice and straight. I'm applying pressure while I'm waiting for the hot glue to cool. Sometimes I use a damp sponge to cool off the hot glue quickly. For this light fixture, I'm going to be using a candelabra-sized bulb. This is a candelabra-sized socket I'm going to be gluing inside the book. I'm drilling a hole for the electric wire to exit. For these projects, I really like to use the old-style cloth-covered wire. I also like using these vintage plugs. Instead of just using the typical inline toggle switch, I decided to use a touch switch. For this project, I'm not using a dimmer. I just want it to simply turn on and off. You can find these touch switches online at Amazon or even eBay, and they cost anywhere between $9 and $15. I'm using Velcro to attach the switch to the interior of the fixture. If I wired it correctly, it won't explode. Let's see. All right. Now we're at the point where we can attach the two books to each other. I'm going to be using the solid brass decorative corner as the touch switch. First, I'll scuff up the brass with sandpaper and prepare it for soldering. Then a little bit of flux. Tin the wire I'm attaching, and then solder it to the brass decorative corner. Find a good position on the book, drill a hole, then pass the wire into the book. I'm attaching the brass corner using an all-purpose clear adhesive. Now I'll solder the brass decorative element to the touch switch. I'm using a piece of shrink tubing to cover the solder connection. I'm preparing the piece of the cover that I cut from the bottom book so it can be used as an access door when the light bulb needs to be replaced. I'm adhering a piece of aluminum foil to the interior of the cover, though there shouldn't be a problem with heat because I'm using an LED bulb. To reattach the section of the back cover that I removed, I'm using strips of styrene plastic. I like working with styrene. It comes in various sizes and thicknesses. You can get it in different colors as well. It's easy to work with. You can score and snap it. And in this case, I'll be drilling and tapping it. But you can't tighten the screws too much, or you would strip it out, because it's pretty soft. Well, it took some time, but the access panel is now complete. Well, it's almost complete. I decided to attach a logo to it.